From the time their whirlwind romance made the press to the day they said they were getting married, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes were in a lot of news. Paparazzi pictures and public interest, but behind the scenes, there was a lot more going on than fairy tale pictures and red carpet visits. An unknown place of strong beliefs, more and more religious influences and forces changed the course of their relationship and, most importantly, the life of their daughter Sway. By the time he met Katie Holmes, Tom Cruise was already one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. He was known for both his action-packed movie roles and his beautiful smile, but also for his deep devotion to Scientology, a religion that had become an important part of his identity since the late 1980s. Many people noticed how central Scientology was to his daily life, affecting his personal and professional choices and perspectives. Katie Holmes, on the other hand, grew up in Ohio in a strict Catholic family. She became America's sweetheart through her part as the girl next door. People saw Joey Potter as grounded and real on the hit TV show Dawson's Creek, and her rise to fame felt relatable in a business known for excess and spectacle. When rumors first spread that Tom and Katie were dating, the media went crazy. People wanted to know how they met, how they got together, and what kind of relationship they could possibly have given their different ages, life experiences, and religious backgrounds. The public has always been interested in Tom's love life since his marriages to Mimi Rogers and Nicole Kidman, both of whom were involved with Scientology in different ways. The press were full of stories about Tom bringing each of his dates to church, and many people wondered if Katie would also join them. What happened next became one of the most famous and, to some, confusing events in celebrity history. Tom Cruise's visit to the Oprah Winfrey Show was meant to be a normal promotional interview, but it quickly turned into a media event that will be remembered for a long time. Tom jumped up and down on Oprah's couch and declared his love for Katie with such unbridled enthusiasm that even Oprah looked a little surprised. The video went viral before viral videos were even common, leaving fans shocked, amused, or even worried about his over-the-top display. Katie, on the other hand, found herself in the middle of a media storm that was caused by Tom's excitement soon after they stated they were getting married. The speed with which their relationship grew raised eyebrows, but people couldn't take their eyes off of him. The idea of the lively and loved Katie Holmes is going to join Tom Cruise on his jet-set trip. Adventures was definitely interesting, and a few months later, they made another shocking statement. By the time their first child, Suri, was born in April 2006, obsession had turned into full-blown curiosity. How would they deal with their religious differences? Would Katie briefly convert to Scientology like Nicole Kidman did? How would they handle the press's never-ending desire to know every detail of their private lives? While the event was getting a lot of attention, what made it even more interesting was that Katie reportedly had a completely silent birth. This is something that Scientology promotes because, according to the teachings of its founder L. Ron Hubbard, birth should happen in a calm and quiet environment so as not to negatively affect the baby with outside noise or stress. Some news outlets made fun of it as a joke, while others wondered if Katie had really chosen this path, or if Tom and his church membership had forced it on her. Either way, the story only made people interested as Suri grew from a baby to a child. Pictures of her were in the tabloids almost every day. She had beautiful big blue eyes and stylish clothes that her mother often picked out for her. Tom and Katie went to red carpet events together, and Suri until gave off the air of a perfect modern Hollywood family. But behind the smiles, there were rumors that Katie was having trouble adjusting to her new life. Former Scientologists told the press that she was being watched closely, and that people were going with her everywhere so they could report back on what she did. Leaked stories made it sound like she didn't have much freedom, and that her personal choices were always influenced by Tom's views. Katie's public behavior slowly showed signs of stress. She became more reserved and would sometimes answer interview questions with words that seemed forced or highly scripted. Words like amazing, incredible, and wonderful would be used over and over again. Some people started to wonder if she had lost some of her down-to-earth charm when she talked about Tom or certain parts of their life together. Tom's appearance in the press changed. Pay attention to his personal life instead of his work in films. Putting big-budget films out of the spotlight, people often asked Katie if she was voluntarily joining Scientology or if she was starting to feel stuck. Then, there was her wedding in November 2006. A fancy wedding, and the wedding took place at Italy's Scala Castle, which is said to have cost millions of dollars. Among the guests were close friends and important Scientology members. Brought in some Scientology customs that some guests found strange. As a deeply religious Catholic family, Katie's parents were worried that their daughter would be entering a world that did not fit with the faith they had grown up in. However, they went to see their daughter marry one of the biggest stars in the world, hoping for the best even though they were worried. Katie Holmes tried to get used to her new life as Mrs. Tom Cruise went to some Scientology gatherings, at least in public, and was often seen standing next to Tom at big events. On the outside, they looked like the picture of beauty and unity, but sources say cracks were starting to show. There were reports that Katie was getting more and more worried about how Suri would be handled, and whether she would be taught strict Scientology from a young age. Some said Katie was afraid that if Sway joined the church, she would become very stuck in a set of beliefs. Katie wasn't totally happy with, but Tom didn't seem to notice any problems. At least, when he talked to the press, he kept saying nice things about his wife and child and showed them off with pride whenever he could. Some people thought Tom was sure Katie would eventually adopt Scientology with all his heart, just like he had, but to people who were paying close attention, it was clear that Katie's close friends and family, especially her parents, are still feeling unsafe. Behind closed doors, rumors of a possible fight got louder. It was said that Katie's father, who was an attorney, had taken steps early on to make sure that if his daughter ever needed an exit strategy, she would have the tools to do so. That exit strategy came in 2012, shockingly quickly, almost overnight. The news said Katie had asked for a divorce. Tom was caught off guard, even though famous breakups happen all the time. According to many stories, Katie's move was anything but that. She carefully planned her breakup with Tom like an operation. It is said that she used fake phones so that her communications could not be tracked. They hired several law companies in different states to handle different legal matters, and waited for the right time to strike. Within a few days, she had moved out and been taken. Suri and asked for parental rights, all before people reacted quickly and strongly when they heard that Tom could mount any countermove. It looked like Tom Cruise, one of the most famous faces in the world, was really shocked that he was shooting a movie in Iceland. When they heard about the split broke, and people who knew him well said it overshadowed even his 50th birthday. Katie's solicitors made it clear that she wanted to protect if Scientology tried to control or influence Suri in a bad way. The speed with which the divorce was finalized was just 11 days after she filed. Many people thought that Katie's father had carefully planned the prenup and the legal tactics that would follow after the divorce. A pattern formed that fans and observers couldn't figure out. Tom Cruise, who was once seen with Suri at theme parks and on movie sets, seemed to disappear from her life. At first, there were rumors that he was upset and would fight for joint custody, but as the months turned into years, there were no more pictures of Tom and Sway together. Reports said that Tom could see his daughter for up to 10 days a month, but there was no proof of this. He was using that choice. Some said the Church of Scientology called Suri a suppressive person, which means someone who is a threat to the church's security. If that were true, it was strange that Tom's love for her might require him to keep his distance from her in public. Tom had been honest about how much being a dad meant to him in the past. He had 2 children with Nicole Kidman, Connor and Isabella. Both of them stayed involved in Scientology, so he thought, if he could keep relationships with them, why not with Suri? The question was at the center of every new news story and spy photo of Katie, and Sway walking through the streets of Katie often held her daughter's hand, while trying to give her a normal upbringing as best she could. Katie chose to keep her personal life private, focusing on her career and the well-being of her child. When she did talk, she made it clear that her #1 priority was keeping Suri away from the public eye and the unhealthy influences she saw as possible. As time went on, Suri became a teenager and mostly stayed out of the spotlight. She would sometimes show up in photos with Katie, and the resemblance to her father was still clear, despite the rumors. Tom, or the Church of Scientology, never released a statement explaining his absence. Maybe it was too sensitive a thing, or maybe the forces at work were more complicated than people from outside the group could understand. That the theories went from religious rules to personal choice. The story got even more dramatic on Sway's 18th birthday. It's possible that Tom wanted to see her, but was being stopped, or he decided not to for fear of what would happen at church, or Sway herself didn't want the relationship anymore. Suri allegedly chose to drop her father's last name and go by Suri Noel, using her mother's middle name, instead of continuing to go by Suri Cruise. This move, while symbolic, sent shockwaves through the celebrity world, and many saw it as a bold statement of independence from her father, who had been absent for so many of her formative years. For her part, Katie had said in interviews that she wanted to live a normal life away from the media. But how normal could it be for someone whose parents were once the subject of a newspaper firestorm? As Suri turned 18, she started a new stage in her life that didn't seem to include her father. She started college. Reports said that Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh should focus on her intellectual and personal growth. Katie helped her get settled in at college by carrying boxes and essentials up and down flights of stairs, just like any other mother sending her kid off to the next stage of life. Tom was seen at social events, having a lot of attention when people got together for events like Taylor Swift's Eras tour and hung out with other artists and celebrities. It seemed like their lives were moving in parallel tracks with no end in sight. Divergence brought up many questions. Do they talk to each other behind closed doors? Or is the relationship really over? Is Tom following an unspoken or written church rule, or is he doing it for personal reasons? He's decided to stay away. Does Suri feel like she's lost something? Has her relationship with Katie and her mother's family replaced the connection she used to have with her father? The media and fans can only guess. But what stands out is the shocking difference between Tom's public persona and his real self. He is an unstoppable Hollywood star who keeps pushing the limits of movie stunts and setting new standards for blockbusters. His obvious absence from the life of his only biological daughter makes some people question the whole thing. In talks in the past, Tom has talked very highly of being a father, especially when talking about the years he spent raising Connor and Isabella. Both of those kids have stayed close to Tom and are said to share his devotion to Scientology. Isabella got married in London, and neither Tom nor Nicole Kidman were there. However, in rare comments, Isabella has said that she does stay in touch with them. Connor is known to play music and other ventures, has also been pictured with Tom on occasion, and the two of them look like they get along well. The only change is that Stark Tom's 2 older children are Scientologists, but Sway is not. Katie Holmes, meanwhile, has done her best to build a satisfying career after her divorce, both in front of and behind the camera, directing projects and exploring new creative paths. She has also had her share of love relationships, including her very private relationship with actor Jamie Foxx. There was talk that she couldn't date in public for 5 years because of a clause in her divorce settlement. This added to the mystery, but it hasn't been proven to exist. It's interesting how private she was about her personal life during that time, All signs pointed to a woman who wanted to put her daughter's health first. Suri's appearance in the media has been carefully managed, and she has rarely given interviews. This may be to protect her from more tabloid drama and rumors during the whole thing. Katie has been very protective of her privacy over the past few years, even though she is now an adult. In recent years, we've seen Suri being creative by doing things like singing on songs in Katie's independent films. This small glimpse suggests that Suri is becoming more artistic, possibly from both of her parents, who are both talented and creative in their own ways. If there's one thing that's clear, it's that Suri wants to stand on her own 2 feet and make her own identity, away from the intense spotlight that has been on her family for so many years now that she is an adult. Tom's child support obligations have changed. Reports say he was paying around $400,000 a year for her support, which may not seem like much compared to his huge wealth, but it was important for Katie to make sure Suri had a stable life. Many people are wondering if Tom will continue to help pay for her college or health insurance, or if the relationship, if you can call it that, is over for good. Some people have even suggested that Suri's name change was timed to coincide with Tom's formal financial obligations, which would support the idea that she is moving on her own. But leaving money aside, there is still the emotional side. Still, the most important question: will Tom tries to get in touch with Suri now that she is an adult and can choose for herself what religion to follow? Is it too late for her to talk about her relationships and other things in her life? They can't come to an agreement on anything because too many lines have been drawn. People who follow the lives of celebrities think that Tom would find a way to get with someone if he really wanted to. Scientology might put in front of him, while others say that faiths hold strong by often portraying the outside world as bad or dangerous. Tom might choose to stay in the safety of his church if Suri and Katie are thought to be outside that circle of influence. Fans who have been following this saga from the start can join together here. It may seem like a sad finish to a story that started out as a cute family tale, but Sue's choice to make her own identity, especially her choice to drop the last name, gives her strength. Cruise and adopt Noel instead. It suggests that she sees herself more in line with her mother's family, or just wants a new start where one of Hollywood's most famous last names doesn't weigh her down. The general opinion is that her mother Katie was able to protect her from the worst parts of fame, giving her the privacy she needed to grow up and make her own choices in talks. Katie sometimes hints at how happy she is of Suri by saying that she is a strong and resilient person who has handled life changes very well. She rarely says it outright though. Tom wasn't there because he wanted to keep the talk about Sue's personal growth and accomplishments. People have noticed that even though there is a lot of public interest in the mother and daughter, they have managed to make it seem normal to grab coffee and shopping for food in New York while walking through parks that look like any other close-knit. Tom continues on his road as one of Hollywood's last true action stars, while his family deals with the day-to-day realities of modern life, complete with paparazzi attention every time they step outside. Superstars. His Mission Impossible films have been a huge hit with critics and audiences alike, and he's been praised for pushing the limits with risky stunts, real aerial sequences, and a seemingly never-ending dedication to making films spectacular. He's also known for, as he led Ed into new ground, he dropped hints about a project that might involve filming in space. Is still a charismatic person whose interviews with Tom for Persona are very well organized and rarely touch on his personal life. Even when asked about Suri, he often avoids the subject or shifts the focus back to his films or charitable work in the end. It looks like the story is about a young woman taking her time becoming an adult. Sue's changing 18 wasn't just a birthday. It showed that she can make her own choices about her name, her future, and the people she wants to keep in her life. She did this in a way that says a lot without saying a word, quietly and firmly. Moving to a place where she isn't the center of attention. Father will be a star at last. Tom decides that he can keep his balance. His dedication to Scientology and his fresh commitment to his daughter, will he be willing to get in touch with her again if he decides to? These questions have not been answered and are still being held in the same haze that has been around a lot of the family's private matters. One option is that as Sui grows up and continues her education, she might think about having a connection with her dad again, but this time on her own terms and maybe with clear rules. Another reason is that she might feel like that chapter is over, especially if she thinks he didn't try very hard when it mattered. What is certain is that Katie and Sir have both found peace in the life they've built together, away from the problems and restrictions that used to rule their daily lives. Katie's work has become more independent, letting her direct and produce projects that are true to her own artistic tastes. She loves being a mother very much, and that love comes through in the pictures of her and Suri walking around New York City with such ease that they look like they're really living their normal lives. It looks like they're making progress that doesn't depend on Tom's presence or support in the end. It's important to remember that even in Hollywood, real people's lives are at risk, whether they are famous or not. Things can go wrong in dynamics. There was religious tension and deep sorrow. While the public is often left to piece together bits of truth and rumor, the people involved in this case have to live with the results of the decisions they made. Katie Holmes and Suri seem to have found stability and happiness in the years since they broke up with Tom. With Suri now a confident young adult moving on to the next part of her life, it's unclear whether Tom will ever try to be a part of that life again, or if that window has quietly but permanently closed. For more news, watch the next video.